There comes a moment when the quantum field begins to whisper back to you. It does not shout. It does not arrive with fireworks or dramatic announcements. Instead, it sends the quietest signals, subtle synchronicities that slip into your life almost unnoticed. A number that repeats everywhere you look, a chance encounter that sparks a new thought, a phrase someone says that feels like it was meant only for you. These are not accidents. They are the signal of readiness. They are the field's way of saying, you are no longer waiting for your time, you are already standing in it. The mind often expects the signal to be grand, but the quantum does not work that way. Alignment does not require spectacle, it requires coherence. And the moment your vibration steadies into resonance with the new timeline, the field begins to respond. It arranges events with such precision that they can look like coincidence to the untrained eye. But when you know, you know. The hairs rise on your arms. A calm certainty fills your chest. Something is shifting beneath the surface, and even though you cannot explain it, you can feel it. This is the moment most people dismiss. They say, it's just a lucky break, or, that was strange, but probably meaningless. And in brushing it aside, they miss the very sign they had been asking for. The signal of readiness is not about the event itself. It's about what it reflects. It shows that your energy is finally coherent enough for the field to mirror back confirmation. It proves that you are already on the path, not preparing to begin it someday in the future. Think of it like the first breeze before a storm. The shift is not fully visible yet, but the air carries the signal that something is coming. The synchronicities are the breeze. They remind you that reality is rearranging, that threads are pulling together behind the curtain. The more you pay attention to them, the more they multiply. Not because the field suddenly decides to respond, but because your awareness tunes into the resonance that has been there all along. This is why presence matters so deeply. If you move too quickly, rushing through your days, you will miss the whispers. If you are consumed by doubt, you will dismiss them. But when you slow down and allow yourself to notice, the confirmation is undeniable. You begin to see the repeating patterns. You begin to hear the words that echo. You begin to feel guided, not by force, but by resonance. The signal of readiness is not a promise of what might come someday. It is proof that you are already there, that the shift has begun, that the field has felt your coherence and is now sending back reflections. Do not wait for the loud arrival before you trust. The quiet signs are the beginning of everything. They mean the door has already opened. All that's left is to walk through. There is a phase that almost everyone misunderstands on the path of transformation. It is not marked by excitement nor by chaos, but by an unsettling kind of quiet. Life begins to feel oddly muted. The passions that once drove you no longer ignite the same fire. The routines that once brought comfort start to feel hollow, almost irrelevant. Even conversations with people you love can suddenly seem shallow, as if the words skim the surface of something deeper you can no longer ignore. It is easy to mistake this stillness for emptiness, but it is not emptiness, it is recalibration. In the quantum field, every shift begins with the loosening of the old. The timeline you have been living has been held together by patterns, beliefs, and habits that formed the web of your reality. When the field begins to reorganize, those threads start to dissolve. What once felt solid begins to lose its weight. It can feel like you are standing in the middle of your own life, watching it blur around the edges, no longer fitting as it once did. This is not stagnation. It is proof that the old timeline is dissolving. The mind does not like this stage. It has been conditioned to equate progress with movement, with constant doing. When life goes quiet, the mind panics. It tells you that you are falling behind, that you have lost momentum, that something must be wrong. But the truth is, the stillness is one of the clearest signs that something is going profoundly right. Just as a bow must be drawn back before it releases an arrow, your energy is being pulled inward to build the momentum for what comes next. Think of the moment before a symphony begins. The lights dim, the audience falls silent, and for a breathless instant, nothing happens. Yet in that silence, everything is happening. The orchestra is poised, the energy is building, the music is seconds away. The strange calm before change is that silence. It is the moment where the field is recalibrating, rearranging threads of possibility so that your next reality can snap into coherence. If you are in this phase now, resist the urge to force your way out of it. Many people sabotage their shift by scrambling to fill the stillness with distractions or by rushing back into old habits just to feel movement again. But if you can trust the quiet, if you can allow the fading of what no longer serves you, the recalibration completes itself. The emptiness you fear is actually fertile space, the soil from which the new timeline will emerge. The strange calm before change is not a void to be feared. It is an invitation to breathe, to release, to prepare. It is life's way of saying, the old has done its job and the new is waiting to be born. What feels like stillness is really alignment. And when the field finishes its recalibration, you will step forward into a reality that already feels inevitable. There comes a time when the familiar begins to feel foreign. The job you once worked with pride suddenly feels suffocating. The friendships that once felt effortless begin to weigh heavy, conversations looping in circles that no longer inspire you. Even the habits that once gave you comfort, shows you watched, routines you repeated, start to feel strangely empty. What once fit now feels too tight, like wearing clothes 2 sizes too small. This discomfort can be disorienting, but it is not punishment. It is the signal that you are outgrowing your old frequency. The human mind is wired for comfort, so when things shift, the first instinct is to cling to the familiar. You tell yourself, maybe I just need to try harder. Maybe this will feel right again if I fix it, tweak it, or force myself to enjoy it. But the truth is, you are not meant to shrink yourself back into what you've already surpassed. The discomfort is not a sign you've failed. It is evidence that your energy has expanded and that your current reality no longer vibrates in harmony with who you are becoming. Think of a snake shedding its skin. The skin that once protected it eventually becomes restrictive. At first there is only a faint irritation, but soon the pressure grows unbearable. The snake cannot stay in its old lair. It must release it to continue living. This is the pull of discomfort in your own life. It is the signal that the old layer of identity, patterns, and environments has become too small to contain your growth. The pain you feel is not from something being taken away, but from something larger trying to emerge. The danger is misinterpretation. Many mistake this discomfort as a reason to double down on old patterns. They chase old relationships, beg for old jobs to satisfy them again, or cling to routines that used to bring joy. But nothing works, because the frequency has shifted. The resonance you once shared with those things is gone, and no amount of forcing can bring it back. When you try to repair what is meant to dissolve, you only delay the transition. The pull of discomfort is actually guidance. It is the universe's way of telling you, you are done here. Not because you failed, but because you completed the lesson. The relationships that feel heavy taught you what they needed to. The job that feels limiting gave you skills for the next step. The habits that feel empty carried you as far as they could. Their purpose is complete, and your discomfort is the sign that it's time to step into new territory. This stage requires courage. It asks you to walk away from things that once defined you and to trust that the emptiness left behind is not loss, but space for alignment. When you can honor the pull of discomfort instead of resisting it, you discover its true meaning. It is not here to hurt you. It is here to point you forward, toward the timeline that already matches the expanded frequency of who you are becoming. There is a stage in every transformation where your emotions no longer play quietly in the background. They surge to the surface, louder than ever before. One moment you feel unstoppable, certain that something extraordinary is on its way. The next, doubt rushes in, whispering that you must be imagining it all. Hope flips into fear, excitement collides with uncertainty, and you wonder if you are losing your balance. But this turbulence is not a setback. It is not proof that you are failing. It is the field itself testing whether your signal can stay coherent under pressure. In quantum terms, this is what happens when two realities overlap. You are vibrating between the timeline you've known and the one you are stepping into. Both are alive at once, pulling at your energy, flickering back and forth like a light caught between on and off. That flicker feels like emotional intensity because your system is recalibrating. Every old fear is being exposed. Every old belief is being questioned. Every unprocessed emotion is coming to the surface so that it can no longer hide in the shadows of your subconscious. Most people panic in this phase. They think, if I were really close to my breakthrough, I wouldn't feel this unstable. I'd feel calm, confident, certain. But that's the illusion. Emotional amplification is not a sign you're going backward. It's a sign you're brushing right up against the edge of collapse, the point where one probability wave dissolves and another locks in. The turbulence is simply the resistance of the old timeline as it loses its grip. Think about turbulence on an airplane. When the ride gets bumpy, passengers often assume danger. But the truth is, the plane is still flying, still on course. The turbulence doesn't mean the flight has failed. It simply means the aircraft is passing through layers of air that demand adjustment. Your emotions are the same. They spike, they shake you, but they are not proof of collapse. They are proof that you are moving through the atmospheric layers of your old self. This is why neutrality becomes so powerful in this stage. When excitement rises, you can enjoy it without clinging to it as the only sign you're on track. When fear surfaces, you can breathe through it without treating it as proof you're failing. Every surge of emotion is energy moving through your field. None of it is wrong, none of it is final. The more you can stay centered while the storm swirls, the faster the storm resolves. Emotional amplification is the field's way of asking, can you hold your frequency steady even when everything in you wants to waver? Can you trust the shift even while doubt screams in your ear? If you can, coherence stabilizes. The flicker stops. The new timeline becomes the only active signal you send. And when that happens, the turbulence vanishes, not because you forced it away, but because you no longer needed it to test your strength. When the quantum field begins to shift in your favor, it rarely does so with fanfare. Instead, it weaves together a series of subtle but undeniable signs, strange synchronicities that seem to arrive from nowhere. You glance at the clock and it reads the same repeating numbers again and again. A song plays on the radio that answers a question you were silently holding. You bump into someone you haven't seen in years, and the conversation they spark leads directly to an opportunity. These moments may feel random, but they are not accidents. They are the field arranging itself to confirm alignment. The unexpected signs are the universe's way of whispering, you're on the right track. They serve as gentle nudges, proof that the unseen is moving in ways you cannot yet measure. At first, you may dismiss them. You might tell yourself it's just coincidence, or your mind playing tricks. But as they multiply, as the timing becomes too precise and the patterns too consistent, something within you knows. The field is responding. The shift is real. This is the stage where life begins to feel orchestrated, as though an invisible intelligence is guiding your steps. Doors that once seemed locked swing open effortlessly. A chance meeting reveals exactly the information you needed. Money flows in from an unexpected direction. None of it feels forced, and yet it all aligns with uncanny precision. The synchronicities are not the manifestation themselves. They are the alignment signals that your vibration has stabilized enough for the new reality to take shape. Think of it like a compass pointing north. When you drift, the needle wobbles. But when you align, it locks into place. The unexpected signs are your compass locking in. They are reality's way of reflecting back your coherence with the timeline you've chosen. You no longer have to question whether the work you've been doing is making a difference. The evidence is here, scattered like breadcrumbs guiding you forward. The danger at this stage is obsession. Some people cling so tightly to signs that they begin to chase them, demanding more and more proof instead of trusting the process. But the signs are not meant to be worshipped. They are confirmations, not the destination. Their purpose is to remind you that the alignment is real, so that you can relax even further into the flow. The more you trust, the more effortlessly the signs multiply. When you learn to embrace these synchronicities without clinging to them, life begins to feel enchanted. You understand that reality is not random, that the field is alive and responsive. Every strange encounter, every perfectly timed message, every repeating number becomes a reminder that you are in dialogue with the universe itself. The unexpected signs are not coincidences. They are coherence, reflected back in form. And the more you align, the more the field confirms what you already know. Your time has come and the path is unfolding exactly as it should. As you approach the threshold of transformation, something curious begins to happen. The very fears you thought you had conquered start to resurface. Old doubts you believed were buried reappear, whispering familiar lies. Habits you worked so hard to outgrow tempt you again, almost as if the past is trying to reclaim you. It can feel discouraging, even unfair, like proof that you haven't changed at all. But these final echoes of the old self are not here to trap you. They rise not as punishment, but as confirmation. The field is asking you a single question. Will you respond as the version you were, or the one you are becoming? Every identity leaves traces behind. The self you are outgrowing carried beliefs, patterns, and reactions that kept you aligned with its frequency. As you shift timelines, those imprints rise one last time, not because you are failing, but because they must be consciously released. The test is not whether the echoes appear, they will. The test is how you respond when they do. Imagine a flight simulator training a pilot. It recreates turbulence, storms, and malfunctions not to endanger them, but to see if they can hold steady under pressure. The echoes of your old self work the same way. They present you with scenarios that once destabilized you, so you can demonstrate your new alignment. When you choose differently, the old patterns collapse. When you fall back into them, the lesson repeats until you stabilize. Either way, the field is mirroring exactly where you stand. This is why the resurfacing can feel so charged. An old trigger doesn't just sting, it shakes you to your core. That intensity is not proof that you are weak. It is proof that the pattern is dissolving, releasing its final grip. Think of a storm breaking apart just before the skies clear. The winds howl their loudest at the edge of calm. Your old self does the same. It echoes most strongly right before it disappears. The invitation here is presence. When an old fear rises, pause. Notice it without judgment. Ask yourself, is this the reaction of who I used to be, or the response of who I am becoming? The choice you make in that moment collapses probability. React as the old self, and you keep the loop alive. Respond as the new self, and the echo dissolves for good. This is how you step into coherence, not by erasing the past, but by proving to yourself that it no longer controls you. The final echoes are a threshold. They mark the moment where your past and future overlap, where both identities flicker in the same space. It is the field giving you the chance to choose once more, not unconsciously, but deliberately. And when you choose the self you are stepping into, when you act from that place even if it feels unfamiliar, the old echo fades, leaving only the clarity of the new. That is when you know. The shift is not coming. It has already happened. The moment always comes when you can no longer think your way into the new reality. You must live it. The field doesn't respond to hopes, wishes, or even intentions alone. It responds to coherence, and coherence is born in embodiment. To actualize the shift, you must begin to act as the version of yourself who has already crossed the threshold, even while your current reality hasn't caught up yet. This is where thought becomes form. Fear will rise. Doubt will whisper. Old patterns will attempt to pull you back into hesitation. That is the moment to pause. Take a breath and ask yourself a simple but powerful question. How would the version of me who has already arrived respond right now? Would they shrink, or would they move forward with clarity? Would they panic, or would they trust the flow? Would they grasp for control, or would they act with calm certainty? Each time you answer from the identity you are stepping into, you anchor that frequency deeper. At first it will feel awkward, almost unnatural. You may feel like you are pretending, but remember, embodiment is not pretending. It is aligning. You are not forcing something fake. You are drawing closer to the timeline that already exists in the field, and every new choice is a signal that tells the field, this is who I am now. Over time, these choices compound. They stop feeling forced. They become your new default. That is how the threshold dissolves. Actualizing the shift also means aligning your environment. Your surroundings are extensions of your frequency. If you are stepping into abundance, create space that reflects ease rather than clutter. If you are stepping into expansion, fill your days with practices and people that amplify that expansion. Small actions, decluttering a drawer, setting up a morning routine that grounds you, carrying yourself with confidence, send ripples into the field. Each ripple strengthens the signal. The most important piece is consistency. Embodiment cannot be something you practice once and forget. It is a daily commitment to living as the new self, even in the smallest of ways. When fear rises, pause and respond differently. When choices present themselves, pick the one aligned with expansion rather than contraction. When doubt tempts you to step back, hold steady in the vibration of trust. These micro decisions add up until the old frequency no longer has any hold. The truth is, the shift is never waiting for the right time. It is waiting for the right you, the version who no longer negotiates with fear, who no longer delays action until evidence appears, who no longer identifies with scarcity or hesitation. That version is already alive in the field. To actualize the shift, you must stop asking if you are ready and begin living as if you already are. Because the moment you act from that place, the field has no choice but to reorganize itself around your new identity. And when it does, what once felt distant suddenly feels inevitable. When it is truly your time, the shift does not arrive with fireworks. There is no grand announcement, no dramatic sign that leaves you gasping in awe. Instead, it arrives so quietly that you almost miss it. One day you wake up and realize the heaviness that used to sit on your chest is gone. The fear that once dictated your choices no longer has a voice. The struggle you thought would never end has dissolved into stillness. What once felt impossible now feels natural, and the path ahead, once clouded with doubt, stretches before you with a sense of inevitability. This quiet arrival is the signature of true alignment. When the field collapses into coherence with your frequency, there is no strain, no force. The new reality simply begins to exist, as if it had always been there waiting for you. You might look around and wonder when it happened because there was no single dramatic moment to mark the change. And yet, you know, something has shifted so deeply that life cannot return to the way it was. The mind often resists this subtlety. It has been trained to expect spectacle. It craves a lightning bolt, a once-in-a-lifetime event to prove that the transformation is real. But the field does not operate for drama. It operates for resonance. When you arrive in alignment, the absence of struggle is the evidence. The ease itself is the proof. The simplicity is the miracle. It may begin with small realizations. You notice that decisions flow without overthinking. Opportunities meet you without effort. Conversations unfold without resistance. Where you once felt friction, there is now a smoothness, as though life has adjusted its rhythm to match yours. These are not coincidences. They are confirmations. The quantum field has locked in your new signal, and reality is simply mirroring it back. In this stage, you no longer chase signs, because you no longer need them. You have become the sign. Your very presence broadcasts coherence, and the field responds by arranging itself in harmony with you. Others may notice it before you do. They may say you seem lighter, calmer, more certain. They may ask what has changed, and you will find it hard to explain because the truth is that nothing external made it happen. The change was internal first, and everything outside simply followed. This is why the quiet arrival is so profound. It is not a fleeting high, not a burst of energy that fades after a few days. It is a steady state, a new baseline, a deeper home within yourself. Once you experience it, you no longer fear losing it, because it is not something you gained. It is something you became. When it's your time, you don't need to ask whether you've made it. You know, the fear is irrelevant, the struggle is gone, and the path ahead feels inevitable. The quiet arrival is the moment you stop reaching and start living. It is the confirmation that you have crossed and there is no going back. Indeed. The final stage of any quantum shift is not found in searching outward, but in realizing that you yourself have become the very signal you once chased. Living the proof means you stop anxiously asking for signs, because your entire being radiates them. You move through your days with a quietly luminous confidence, and life flows around you like a graceful current, rearranging itself in beautifully precise ways that leave no room for doubt. What once felt uncertain now feels solidly inevitable. What once required constant reassurance now unfolds effortlessly and naturally before your eyes. Embodiment is the living evidence. When you embody the new self fully, you no longer need to look to the field for confirmation, because the field has no choice but to reflect the brilliance and clarity of your vibration. Every decision you make feels more grounded, more expansive, more certain. Every word you speak carries more weight, more resonance, more authenticity. Every step you take is infused with a sense of alignment so deep that others can feel it even before you explain it. You stop trying to prove anything, because your very presence is proof. Life begins to mirror this coherence in wonderfully subtle and astonishingly obvious ways. Opportunities seem to glide into your orbit without struggle. Conversations open doors you didn't even know existed. Money, love, creativity, and freedom appear not as occasional gifts, but as consistent reflections of the frequency you are stably holding. The chaos, the turbulence, the old static no longer follow you, because there is nothing left in your field to sustain them. Instead, harmony, flow, and ease weave themselves into every corner of your reality. The most striking part of this phase is how natural it feels. You might have expected fireworks, dramatic revelations, or sudden explosions of change. Yet what you discover instead is an exquisitely quiet stability. You wake up one morning and realize that the fear that used to haunt you has become irrelevant. The old questions you used to obsess over no longer even cross your mind. What once felt like an endless climb now feels like a smooth and steady walk on solid ground. That ease, that stability, is the most powerful evidence you could ever ask for. Living the proof also transforms how others perceive you. People are drawn to your presence without fully understanding why. They sense your steadiness, your authenticity, your luminous clarity, and it inspires them. You are no longer asking for validation, you are radiating it. The field does not need to send you signs anymore, because you are the sign, moving through life as living evidence that transformation is real, that coherence is possible, and that alignment is magnetic. This is the exquisite beauty of embodiment. The journey ends not with a desperate search for external proof, but with the calm realization that the proof was always meant to be you. When you stop reaching and start being, reality can do nothing but flow in confirmation. You are the signal. You are the resonance. You are the living proof.